They want us to think that we're an insignificant speck of dust, but let me tell you, we are so much more than dust in the wind.
At least 4 billion useless eaters will be eliminated by the year 2050.
I'm still waiting for somebody to show me gas pressure without a container.
I personally don't believe anything they say, right down to the God they claim they worship.
None of the math adds up.
You could stack up all their math books, all their science books, and even put all their degrees stacked up on top of that, and you still wouldn't be high enough to see the curvature.
This is exactly why grounding is so important.
We see too far.
We're just regular people who know we're being lied to. We're tired of it.
The bottom line is, there's only one choice left, and that's to dismantle this whole thing from the top down.
This is
You're obviously a professional. I watched yours earlier today, and you've got the
graphics
at the
and all
beginning. You do like a little bio of them beforehand to kind of tell the guests who it is.
Yes, I do like a well, that was for today. So here's what happened. We had the Dark Outpost. Okay, and the Dark Outpost, he was getting a deal for the server. He was just saying all the people that subscribed, the server guy got the money, so he didn't have to pay for the server. But one day we're on the show doing a Dark Outpost, recording it, and he says, "I think this is our last show." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "The server guy just asked me for $350 a month," and I was like, "What?" And so we lost the server. We lost all the shows that we did. So, like I was talking to Bill, I said, I don't really want to do a show, right? And I'd been writing under Agent X11, Hollywood Dark Journalist, since I was in the Crazy House. Okay, so that was like in 2017, and so I was just like thinking, what can I do to offer these people who have been giving their time and telling their stories in series every week? What can I do? What kind of an alternative? And then I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And so I started Agent X11 because I already had Agent X11 on my Rumble. They'd been sitting there with like one crappy video, which is like 5 seconds long, and I don't even know how I had like 40 followers because there was no content.
Someone was like, this is cool. All right, I'm gonna follow.
This is cool. We like this 2-second video. That's snappy. And then so when I started this, now I have this is my first week. I have 100 followers.
That's awesome.
Congratulations. So
right.
before we go further, tell everyone where to follow you for the people who don't stick till the end, where we'll ask again. Tell everyone where to find you and what you do.
They can find me 2 places. They can find me at The Awake Nation. You can go to theawakenation.com, or you can go to David Zublick's channel on Rumble, and you can find us there. And we are Mondays through Fridays, 8 a.m. to, let me just see if I can figure this out. Because I had to move at a one time zone to another. Okay, just think about that in your head, because I'm booking a lot of people. All right. So it's 9 to 12 noon Eastern and 8 to 11 Central. And I don't know the other time zones. David does, but I don't. I try not to go there because once you time travel, you get screwed forever.
I beg to differ. No, I'm just kidding.
And then the other place you can find me is Agent X11, which is on Rumble. It's real simple. It's just Agent X11. There's like no spaces, nothing. Or you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Shepard Out. And if you forget it and you watch The Awake Nation, every time we end the show, David says Zublick out, and I say Shepard out. That's my Twitter.
There you go. Perfect.
There you go.
So you're good at this marketing thing. Terrible.
I tried. I lost my business cards, but then I found them again. Let me just see if I can see where they are. I was gonna say I lost them again.
Went back to lost. Yeah.
So there's my business card, which I designed.
Nice.
Woo! Everyone's freaking out.
got a little
letter
cowboy vibe going on, or cowgirl
Yes, the
vibe
cowboy.
going on there.
Yes, I'm a fake cowgirl.
She's a
Oh, yeah?
singer.
Yes, I'm a fake cowgirl.
That's right.
But I stood on stage wearing cowboy boots forever. And when I was a little kid, I wore cowboy boots. And I remember I hadn't seen my sister in a really long time. She used to tell this story about how my dad gave me cowboy boots when I was like 3 or 4, maybe 5. And we shared a room together. And I was in the bed. And she said, take them boots off. And I said, no, Dad gave me these boots. And the next thing I found myself on the floor. So I hadn't seen her in like a really long time. And I was playing at this venue in Riverside. It was the Holiday Inn, and I invited her out to see me. And the first thing she did was she opens up the door. She looks down at my feet, and I'm wearing cowboy boots. And I said, some things never change.
Uh-huh.
I said, but this time you have your own bed, so you don't have to sleep in the bed with me. Okay, so I don't want to end up on the floor. Right, I don't want to end up on the floor.
Kick you out.
I was reading your bio on your page, and wow, you have quite the story to tell.
I do.
So, wherever you want to start,
Yeah, wherever you feel it's appropriate to begin. You know better than us.
You go, girl.
It, and then we'll kind of just ask you some questions along the way, because everybody really needs to hear this.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so excited about this one. Sorry to interrupt.
I know. He said, "Are you serious?"
I was scrolling. Yeah, I was just. I don't know even how I came across.
No, I'm not lying. I
been
didn't make that part up.
Because I was scrolling. I might have been doom scrolling or whatever, but I saw the real life 11 from Stranger Things popped out, and I was like,
now,
we got to talk to this
now,
lady.
Here's the
she
thing.
sounds like an interesting story.
I am interesting. But you know what? I didn't think I was, because when I left my police officer, retired police officer husband, and I went to Chicago, I was going to write my life story. And then I was like, nah, I'm not that interesting. And then later on, when I started researching, I was like, damn, what in the world happened to me? Because I knew I'd been erased. And before I ended up where I ended up, I was at my brother's for like almost a year. I started writing. I had to learn how to walk and talk all over again, because my husband, I guess he was like the last handler, like the last pope.
Oh, man.
And I was with him for almost 25 years. So I ended up, after I left my agent, John, and we're not, no last names, because there's a bazillion Johns. Yeah. So after I left him, they brought in, when I said I was leaving, okay, I hadn't even left yet. When I said I was leaving, then this guy shows up at a venue that I'm playing. It's called Kicks in San Diego. And he shows up this one night, and I'm singing Finally. It's an old song. You guys probably don't know. It's like, finally, it has happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
You know that.
Come on.
So I'm singing that, and I have my tux jacket on, and I got my little headset, and I'm walking around. I'm singing to everybody. I see him, but I'm like, nah. And so I don't sing to him. I sing to everyone else, but I don't sing to him. And then I go back to, there's like this little long bar thing, and I go back and I'm singing, dancing, right, and then my heel gets caught in my tux tail. This stuff happens to me all the time. This is why, by the
who
way,
hasn't been there, right?
this is why I use safety glasses. Okay, I call these safety glasses the safety dance, because I, if it can be spilled, I will spill it. So I went flying forward. And luckily I didn't chip a tooth, but I went flying forward and I grabbed the whole of that bar, just looking like, oh, I planned this, because I didn't. And then the next day I was exhausted, and I remember looking down. I would always, when I got exhausted, this was my tell. I'd be singing, and all of a sudden I'd be looking down at the people's feet. And this is how I knew that I was exhausted, because I would say, oh, those are nice shoes. And then I would know I'm in trouble, because I'm out there now,
I see their shoes. It's not good.
Yeah, there's no nice shoes. And then I was like, oh, shit, you're really tired. So he came in like the next night. Now, the first night he was wearing a leather jacket, and I I have this thing about men in 3-piece suits. I don't know what it is. Okay, I worked in the corporate world for a very long time. And so then the next day he comes in wearing a 3-piece suit. But he's the only person in the club. Like the only person.
He's like, I've read her file. I know.
So I say to him, I say to the bartender, should I talk to this guy? And he says, he's the only person in here, Betty. And so I ended up talking to him, but I believe he was actually sent to me. Really? And I had a vision about him. So we'll get into the Stranger Things very shortly. I had a vision about him. God, I wish it was a vision that said, don't get with this person.
Oh, man.
And I told him when we went out to lunch, I told him everything about himself. And for some reason, it didn't freak him out, which that now, in retrospect, freaks me out.
Yeah.
A little bit, right?
Right.
So I knew that he was 38. I knew he was 5'10". I knew he had blue eyes. I knew he'd been married before. I knew he had 2 children, a boy and a girl. I knew that the girl was older than the boy. I knew he had a bad relationship with his ex-wife. You know, that's like kind of a given, but
all right,
you know,
I gotta go. I don't want you knowing anything about it.
Yeah, right. What are you thinking about us right now?
I'm like, wow.
So I told him all this stuff, but here's the thing that freaked me out is that I wrote down all these things and I wrote he has a white Jeep. Okay. So when I started, my nose is running. I'm sorry. When I started, I talked to him like that the whole time, that whole night. We went out to Denny's and then he asked me to go out to lunch the next day. When he showed up the next day, he showed up in a white Jeep. Okay.
No.
That's when I lost all my ability to like hold the the interrogation thing. Like I'm failing under interrogation. Just ask me anything because I have to tell the truth like that.
Wow.
And that's when I told him all about himself. So I ended up with that individual for almost 25 years. I lived with him for 5, moved out at one point, and then got back with him. We got married in 1997. I left in 2015. I started prepping to leave, and he had been a drug addict. He was a retired police officer. He said he was injured getting in a fight with a Samoan, and the Samoan broke his neck. And he
very
walked
specific.
out. Yes, and they're huge. Okay, and broke his neck, and he was walking around for 2 years, and he didn't know he had a broken neck when he said his shooting score started going down. So that alone, he didn't feel pain at some point. Okay, and I noticed that about this individual.
Wow.
And sometimes psychopaths don't feel pain. I feel pain. If I like cut myself, I'm crying, for like, look, I cut myself.
Dying.
Yes.
Stub your toe. You feel like you're like keel
It's
over,
broken.
like,
It's broken.
I need to go to the hospital.
I know it's broken, but it'll be fine because I don't go to doctors.
No,
at
me neither.
all.
No.
So I'll just get me some
I
duct tape.
honestly don't
great.
remember the last time I've been to a doctor. It's been since I was a teenager, probably.
Rubbing
I
dirt on
refuse to
everything
go.
works. Once you
Does
figure
it?
that out,
Pour some tussin on it.
yeah.
That's all you gotta know.
So anyway, when I left my husband, I started researching, and when I left him, he said to me, "If you leave me, you're going to get thrown in a crazy house. You'll get arrested, and you'll be made homeless." And I was like, "So what are you saying? Are you saying like I can't divorce you in California?" So I said, "Okay, fine. I'm out of here anyway." I said, "Because you know what? I could live like another 40 years. I'm not spending another second with you. I'm done." And so it took me a while to fast forward myself, get out of there, get out of Dodge. I went to my brother's house, and then I started writing, and I started researching, and I had to learn how to walk and talk all over again because I was drugged for 12 years in that relationship. It started when I had carpal tunnel in both wrists, and then the doctor shot me from one doctor to another to the point where I lost my ability to speak. I was in adult diapers, walking on a walker. And I got off everything myself. I asked God, please reveal myself to me, and please, and I don't even know where I got this language because I'm a singer, right? But I said, please help me extricate myself from here. right? That's when my vocabulary came back. You know, the big words.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I remember.
Oh, right, I remember that word, extricate.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get out of there. I remember dragging my leg because I couldn't walk. They were going to give me 2 knee replacements. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Just to be clear, when I said fast forward, I wasn't trying to speed you up. I meant because you had already told me that what he told you had come to fruition. So I was like, fast forward to where it happened.
Right. It did come to fruition. So when I left him, my left leg wasn't working. That didn't stop me. And he also broke my ribs. So I had to go to the doctor just to make sure. And here's my weirdo thinking, right? Is I want to make sure I don't bleed out on the way out. What? You don't want to bleed out on the way out? What the hell is that? So I dragged my left leg behind me, pulled it into the truck, like, you know, got your getting along, and then left and went to my brother's. A lot of things happened on the way. You don't even want to know that. And then I started learning how to, and I had already gotten off of all the drugs they put me on, and I could have died getting off of all of them. Yes. It took me a while to do it because you have to titrate yourself off. I had, they put me on like 50 different drugs. I had a plethora of doctors that they would send me to this doctor, to this doctor, to this doctor. My husband was an addict, so he was using me like a Pez dispenser. And so when I left, there were buckets full of these things that they'd give me. I wasn't taking. So I left and then learned how to talk again. I remember practicing in high heels because I could walk, you know, high heels on a walker. It doesn't look right. You know, the little tennis ball.
I mean, to each their own. You never know.
Right.
There's some people out there that are like, yes.
Doesn't look like, yes, high heels. And yeah, I like the little tennis balls. But so I ended up having to learn how to walk in high heels all over again. It's a girl thing. All right. And then, I started researching. Now, when I started researching, I started writing something called Bradford and Valentine, because remember I told you that I didn't think I was that interesting. Yeah. So I was like, all right, what am I going to write? Because I'm a writer. I've been writing since I was in 6th grade. I also wrote songs that were unpublished. So, and I wrote a children's book when I was in 6th grade, which they wanted me to go on a book tour. But my mother said, no, she didn't want me to go on a book tour in 6th grade.
That's what my mom would have said too. I understand.
Right now,
trust me. Like,
we don't want her to go on a book tour. Plus, she used to say like some weird stuff because she was not a good mom, but she used to say weird things like, I want to see your children. I was like, okay. She didn't want to see anybody else's, but she was like, I want to see your children. And I was like, okay. I don't know what that's about.
That's fucking weird, Mom. All right.
Right? Why not anyone else's? Because you have 3 other kids. You don't want to see their kids, but you want to see mine.
Or were they her kids?
Right. That's another thing. Okay, because my older brother, he didn't look like any of us, and he was homicidal. He tried to kill my sister. He tried to kill my other brother. He didn't try to kill me, but when I got to his house, I found out who he actually was. I think he's a spook for sure. I think that, he used to teach in Guam. He used to teach the senseis, Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu and Karate. But I knew that I didn't trust him because he took me out snorkeling this one time and he dropped a bunch of weights on me and I was really thin then. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, let's go over to where it changes from black and white into color. And there was this big hole. And I was like,
no.
So that should have told me right then I didn't trust him, right? But years later, all of a sudden I trust him. I go out, I stay with him. I start writing Bradford and Valentine, which is a television series. At the time, I thought it was a book. It takes me about a year. I start writing down all the characters, and I say, I think I know how Mario Puzo felt because I have to write all the family members and the backstories for everybody. I still have all the characters, and I am going to continue to write that. It was a television series, and then I take James Patterson's masterclass to refresh myself as a writer. And at that time, I think James Patterson is CIA, which he kind of is because he did do that. He was a producer on an Epstein documentary because he was his neighbor. Okay, so I don't know. And can you be CIA and not know you're CIA? Okay,
Oh, for sure.
that's
I
the other
believe that.
thing. They will use you as assets, and maybe you're unaware of it. So, just saying.
I will also think you're hard pressed to find a person that's at a level like that who isn't compromised in some way, shape, or form.
Precisely.
Oh, yeah.
He's written
Oh,
like
yeah.
167
Oh, yeah.
books.
Yeah,
That's a
so
lot of
That's it.
books.
you know.
Yeah, to those people that said that we're CIA sometimes, maybe they're onto something. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe we don't know it, but
Thanks,
So,
Rufus.
I took his master class. I started writing Bradford and Valentine, but then I started realizing some of the talents that I had that I wasn't aware of as I started unfurling. I have a very close relationship with God. I have since I was a child. Talked to him since I've talked to Jesus since I was like 3. Okay. And
That's
he's
awesome.
literally saved my ass about a bazillion times, especially when I'm laying there in that bed and thinking, just take me out. I don't want to be here anymore. And he says, I say, or extricate me from here. And the prayer that I said was, reveal myself to me. And then when he was revealing myself to me, because I did become homeless, I got put back into play again with my first agent, Darrell, and my second agent, John. And I was talking to both of them at the same time.
How old are you
And
are the
at this point?
I was 58. So I was born in 1958. And at 58, I found out I was MK Ultra.
Wow.
Yeah. I do
Wow.
partially,
What did you like?
I do what I do because I don't want the kids today to find out at 58 that they went through some shit.
Yeah, before
'cause
we
when
go
you
any
go through-
further, sorry, can I
Go
just
ahead.
say that even I know I don't know all of it, but even the little bit that you've told us, kudos to you for coming out of it with this personality and this perspective and just still enjoying life and having a sense of humor and talking, because I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people don't have that strength. I don't even know if I do. So congratulations for coming out.
Well, I
And
think
being
that the
like
sense
this.
of humor was instilled in us because when we were getting tortured and shit as children,
Crap. Damn it.
that I remember my brother David would always make us laugh. And humor was a very important component as to how you overcame some of the horrific crap that was going on.
Yeah.
I remember my mom with David, who David wrote an unpublished book entitled The Whistleblower. And it was about Bush, the Vatican, and my deep state family. And I didn't understand. And and they were drugging me at the time. I took his second script. He did not like my last husband. I've been married twice. He didn't like my last husband. He wouldn't come to the wedding. My mom died, and she was in the hospital, and so the family was there. And she had sepsis, and she died in Custer County Hospital. And my main thing was I wanted to see her and make sure she was saved. That was my main thing, because she did a lot of demonic things. Here's an example. In 1983, Ted's going, yeah. Okay, tell us.
Here's
So-
an I know. I love it. I love it.
Everyone's
I mean,
going,
I don't love that you went through this horrible stuff, but I love that you can inform us in this manner. It's easier to swallow with your
right,
personality.
because I don't want to horrify you all at once. All right,
We're just like,
So, I'll just take you down. I'll take you down a little bit of the rabbit hole. So in 1983, I'm with my band. I'm still with Big Business, which was my first fiance. I was with him for 5 years. Darrell. That was his endeavor. And then I'm with the next man. I left Darrell, and then I'm with the next man that they sent in for me. And the way that I test him is I ask him to play his scales. He plays like Eddie Van Halen, even
Was
though
he
he
a
was like
reptilian or something?
even though he was like an acid. Okay, he was on
see what he
acid.
did there.
This one time at a
Scales.
Oh, so everybody else was
Yeah,
a reptilian.
right.
So-
So, but I don't realize any of this stuff until when I find out I'm MK Ultra like 30, 40 years later, 50 years later. And then I go back and I confront my drummer from that band because he grew up with Steve, who was my husband. My first husband, Steve Zenos. So I'm gonna be all over the place. When at 58, or 59, when I get put in the crazy house, And I've been researching now for like a year, asking questions like, why does John look like Joseph Mengele? Why does my murdered brother David look like Rolf, Joseph Mengele, and Irene Mengele's son? And I remember when I was homeless, I asked some guy like at a truck stop or something, hey, do I look like this person? They're like, oh yeah, that was Irene Schoenbein. She married Joseph Mengele.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I start asking questions like that, which apparently is going to get me in trouble. And also, Sam, my second husband, looked like David Duchovny. So sorry, David Duchovny. I don't know what kind of a person that you are or you aren't, although I've not heard some good things. But you know, I don't think I could ever see you up live because I would just want to
Why
punch
is
you
there
in the
always
face.
6-degree separation from X-Files? I don't get it. It's just...
Yes. Well, so the X-Files was started on a wiki case of xenotransplantation. All right. They filed that case under X in the file cabinet, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, my first husband's name was Zenos.
X.
I was married to Steve Zenos. Okay. Yes.
Why does that name sound so familiar?
Yeah. What? Yeah. Who is this?
Why
dude?
does that
name
sound so familiar? I really feel like I've heard it before.
So Steve Zenos was a guitar player, but he also he had his MA in psychology. Okay.
Okay.
So he was technically a psychologist. He did do counseling at one point, but he ran his parents' psychological practice. Both of his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Zenos, Sheila Zenos and Steve Zenos. Steve was named after his dad. Were doctors of psychology.
Maybe that's what it was. We've probably seen a video or something like that.
Or
a
it just
documentary.
sounds very familiar.
So the Zenos name, if you Google it, if you Google xenophobia, it means fear of strangers.
Yeah.
So the name means
So
stranger.
Stranger. Yeah, there you go.
So,
Stranger
so I had,
Things.
I can't even see this half the time with a straight face. So, we had a band named Stranger. All right.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So when I get locked up in the crazy house, and I was Mrs. They called his mom Mrs. X, his dad Dr. X, Doctors X. They called Steve Doc. So it was Dr. X, and I was Mrs. X. When I divorced him, I was the ex Mrs. X. I was going to write a movie about that.
That's good.
And then,
Not bad.
then when I'm in the crazy house, I start writing about it like 40 years later. Oh, and by the way, after Steve was the one that tells me that my second agent, who I actually fell in love with and had an affair with,
I love how open you are. I love
it.
it.
He tells me,
love it.
Oh, it gets worse. Ed. He tells me that John is your brother. And I say, what? I say, what? He says, yeah, John's your biological brother. Because I called him to say, I think we're related to the Baumgartner name. And he's like, John's your biological brother. And I'm like, I think I swore for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. That's all I did was I just swore.
No throwing up. No throwing up.
I figured it'd be like Ace Ventura when he's got the plunger on his face.
Yeah.
And I was just mortified and horrified. Well, 3 weeks later, he died of a heart attack.
Did he, though?
Oh, wow.
I know. That's what I said. I didn't see a body. Okay. I didn't see a body. Did he just move to a new zip code? I don't know.
Change his name. Something.
Right. And here's a weird thing. Like a year after he supposedly died, and only his sister could verify if she saw his body in the coffin. I don't know. But, you know, if you've ever watched Red, you know, Red 1 and Red 2, the guy dies, but he comes back. Okay. Yeah. You know, somebody put his picture on an Instagram under the name Steve Zenos, and they followed me.
Well, that's
weird. And I was like, that's him for sure in Newport Beach in a sailboat. So, you know, did he sail away? I don't know. I cannot say. But at that point, when I'm in the crazy house, and that's a whole another story. You don't have enough time for all these. Yeah. But there's a little girl in there, and I'm talking to him about, you know, my family. 5 people quit because they're like, you're not crazy, Penny. Why are you here? One person said, who's still a friend of mine, he said, God, Penny, when I saw you, I thought you were the new administrator. I go, why? Because I dressed nice and wore jackets and the only shoes I had were my high heel rhinestone shoes.
And you're not trying to bite your ear.
And I'm not trying to bite anybody's head off.
You say that, okay, it's a story for another time, but I need to know what was the event that actually got you into what you refer to as a crazy house?
Yes, and is this like padded rooms or?
Yeah, are we talking like full
What kind of crazy house are we talking about here?
Are you talking about the crazy house or how I got in there? Both.
Okay. Sure.
All right. How I got in there. So, oh God. All right.
No, I mean, if it's too embarrassing, that's fine.
No. Okay. Really? I just told you I slept with my brother.
I was just gonna say I don't think she has a.
No, there's
quite say it like that, but
no embarrassing.
You didn't know it was him. Okay.
Yes,
I didn't know it was him, so it's not shame on me. But
no.
So I thought I was going to end up talking with John. Now, I am MK Ultra. I do follow orders and commands. At that time, I was still coming out of MK Ultra.
Okay.
Some coordinates showed up on my phone. Coordinates. And I went to the coordinates. Okay. Because it was a Starbucks. Why am I doing this? Because it was a Starbucks.
Like, I want a coffee anyway.
I want a coffee anyway. And I thought I was going to see John. All right. So I waited like all day long. Well, my sister-in-law calls me. She was part of it. My sister-in-law calls me and we're talking and I'm waiting because I'm thinking I'm going to see John, but I don't see John. What I see is a clone of John. And I start crying.
And you can tell how, real quick.
I can tell because the timbre in his voice is different. He's younger.
Excellent answer.
Because I'm a singer.
Answer.
I'm a singer.
Exactly. I'm very good at voices. Very good. And
so the timbre in his voice is different because John has a gravelly voice. This guy didn't. This guy's married. He's talking to his wife on the phone. He's got a wedding ring on, but he's like wearing stuff that John would wear. He's got the hat on, turned around backwards. I see him getting out. No, not just similar. I see this guy getting out of the car.
Some things the same, but some things a little different. Yeah.
Yes. And I see him get out of the car. I mean, same hands, same girth, same legs, same hair, same everything. It's like, and I start crying and she says, what are you seeing? I say, well, it's John, but it's not. It's John, but it's not.
And is this before or after he allegedly passed away?
No, that's my agent. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. It's a lot. I know. All right, you're going to have to go back and watch this.
I'm doing my best.
You're going to have to go back and watch this. Okay, so John's the agent. No. My husband, both of them are dead now, but and I'm not like, am I the Black Widow? I don't know. But the first guy was my ex-husband.
Wasn't your brother's name John?
My brother's name is John. I think I'm going to see John in the coffee shop.
Right, that's what you were saying, yeah.
Steve died in 3 weeks after he told me John was my brother. He died of a heart attack. He died 11 days.
Oh, I thought you said that John. I was confused. I thought that John died, and that's
why
I asked
that
John
question. Dies in the end, but he doesn't.
I wasn't
really.
as lost as I thought.
If you've ever seen that movie, John dies in the end. John doesn't die in the end. Okay,
come on,
he doesn't die in the end. So I'm told.
But you think he does?
I'm told to go to the coordinates to this coffee shop. I go to the coffee shop. I sit there all day long. My sister-in-law calls me. She says, what are you seeing? I say, it's John, but it's not. I say, I can't approach. He doesn't know me. She says back to me, no, you can't. I don't even know this. My sister-in-law. It's my sister-in-law's sister. I don't really know her at all.
What is that?
Yeah. I know, right? What is that? My sister-in-law's sister.
That's who people would tell me that they came in contact with and COVID, and that's why they got to take a whole week off work. Sally's sister's cousin had COVID, and I talked to Sally, so I can't come to work.
on the phone, but it could have gone
over the phone. We don't know how this thing transmits, you know.
Oh my God. Okay, so At this time, I think it was like right before that or right after that, I start crying, and then I hang up on the phone with him. He goes outside. I hang up on the phone with my sister-in-law. He goes outside. He leaves. And then my niece, my grandniece, posts a thing on Facebook and says, drink water, turn around. It was either before or after. But I knew when I saw this one thing, I was screwed. So I'm like, well, I'm already down the rabbit hole. I am a little dehydrated. I've been sitting here drinking coffee all day long. So I drink some water and I turn around and a car comes through the drive-thru. It's a Chrysler and it has a license plate on it. I took a picture of it. The license plate is P485150. And I was like, oh shit. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I know this because I 5150'd my mother in 1983 when I went down to see her. And what I was going to say about the horrifying thing is when I walked in the door, there was a life-size painting. She was an artist. There was a life-size painting at the top of the stairs. She was a black Jesus upside down on a cross.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. What is this, a Kanye video? What's going on?
Right? She was practicing for a Kanye video in 1983. Wow. She was early, you know. She knew stuff beforehand.
Ahead of her trends.
Right.
It all makes sense now.
So well, I knew what I knew what 5150 was, right? So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble." Have you ever watched Hearts of Atlantis with the same guy that was in Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah.
He plays a remote viewer who sees things, right? And he tells a little kid because he can telepathically hear what they're saying, which on occasion I can. Don't do this because I'm not reading your mind or anything. I'm not.
Yeah.
So he tells a little kid, if you start seeing signs for lost dogs, let me know because they're near. So he knows things because he was part of these projects. Well, that's when I realized I know stuff too, because the next day I'm talking to my sister-in-law's sister on the phone again, and and my phone shakes like this, and I see an image. I can't even tell you what the image is because I don't remember, but it literally like put me in MK Ultra land.
Triggered.
And yes. And so then she says, well, you can go over and stay at, Robin's, that's my brother's daughter, my niece. And I'm like, really? Because Rob said I couldn't go there. Oh, no, you can go there. So I pack up all my stuff. I'm in a church at the time working. I pack up all my stuff. I drive over there. She's not home. The lights are on, but nobody's home like me. And then she says,
write that down.
Go over here, right? So I go over here, and she's not there. I say, this is a train station. There's no one here. And then she tells me to go to this third place. By that time, I'm full on MK Ultra compliant. I get a suggestion, not an order. Hey, why don't you come in and have the doctors look at you? And I'm like, I'm fine. I don't understand. And so I go in, they take my glasses. They say they're going to examine me. I don't understand. I'm under MK Ultra. And they take my glasses, they take my clothes. She takes my car keys. They asked me to sign a piece of paper. And I can't see what I'm signing because I need my glasses to see.
Yeah.
They took my glasses. Yeah. And I signed a piece of paper, and that's it. I'm locked into a crazy house for a year. Then when my brother comes to see me, he says, why are you here? I say, well, John wants me here. And he says, because John's son was in the White House. Yeah, it gets serious really fast, right?
Whoa. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And so then he says, well, I say, Steve told me John's my brother. And he says, well, Steve's dead. And like... And your point is, so he's dead. What is that? Doesn't change the truth, right? So anyway, while I'm there, because I'm an industrious individual, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, which was actually John's advice because I had talked to him the year before. Mm-hmm. He said, just get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and work until 12 o'clock at night, and then fall into bed and thank God for another day when you wake up. And I was like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
partially
that's what
agree
I-
with that. I'm just
I
saying.
do agree. I do agree with that. So that's what I did. And I researched every single day. I started writing. I started writing under the name Agent X11, but only after a little girl there, when I was talking to everybody, the little girl there says, she cleaned out the toilet. She's like, you need to watch Stranger Things. I'm like, really? Because
Some
I just don't.
stupid show.
Yeah, some stupid show because I really don't want to watch it because I just found out that my family are Hitlers, Eichmanns, Mengeles, and Spears. Oh my, I'm locked in a crazy house and I'm not crazy. My family's deep state CIA, and I have some pictures which I can show you. She's like, no, you need to watch it. Well, I watched it and then I started crying and I cried for about, I don't know, a month and a half. I was born
Off and on.
August 11th.
Oh, wow.
My middle initials are L period A period. My mom's name was Millie.
What?
Whoa.
Are you serious?
What? No. Wow.
So you weren't joking when you said
No,
that.
I wasn't
thought it was
freaking
just like
joking.
a rough kind of
No. So
thing.
I was like, when I saw it, I didn't realize like all the components and I started researching it. And I was like, how are they doing this? Because I'll tell you this right now. The Duffer Brothers, in my opinion, have no idea I even exist.
Yeah.
Okay. How did they write it? Now, here's another thing. When I started writing Bradford and Valentine, I was writing it off of real characters. I wrote a character based on Jarrell, but I thought it was a little close to his name, so I changed it. Not his name. But I realized I was writing about real people, right? I was writing.
Yeah.
They're predicated off of real people. My characters were, and then when I was writing it, James Patterson said, if you can't be there, then you can use Google Earth, where you can like actually Google a place and go there. And then for names, to pick out names, he said that that there's a name generator. So I got the name generator, and out of 60 names, I named my one character Brad Bradford because I had an affair with a guy named Brad, and I couldn't remember Brad's last name. And I kept meeting him because he was my next door neighbor.
I always love when I see people's names like that, like Steve Stevenson and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so
You're like,
good.
oh,
Your
that's not
parents
very
hated
creative.
you.
Now it makes sense.
Very creative, right? But Brad lived next door to me when I was in Mission Viejo with my husband. Okay. And one day Brad asked me to come over for dinner because Steve was never home. So I went over, I had dinner, and then I came back, and Steve was very jealous, which that's a bad thing. Jealousy, I'm not akin to jealousy. I think if you're jealous, you kind of either like have a demon going on.
It's a bad thing for
because
both people. It's a bad
it
thing
is.
for the person that they're jealous like towards, and it's a bad thing for the jealous person because it eats
Yes.
you alive. Just
And
Yeah.
9 times out
it's
of
not
10,
a good look.
it happens like somebody blames you of cheating on them because they're cheating on you.
They are. Yep. Exactly.
So, but I'm not that kind of person. I don't cheat on people. That's just not my, who I am. But after I left Steve, I ended up meeting Brad again. Right?
Right.
I just kept crossing paths with Brad. He was just always
Accidentally.
there.
It was just
Accidentally,
weird.
he showed up. So I start writing Bradford and Valentine. Now, the Valentine name came from a girl who was on my circuit. It was a singer. She was up in Big Bear. She was had a snowball fight with her boyfriend. She got hit by a car. She got thrown up 50 feet in the air, came down, her spine broke. She said at that point, God, if I can't sing anymore, just kill me. And I know that feeling because that's what I was. I was a singer. That's all I did, all I really wanted to do. And so I had filled in for her on some gigs. So that's where I got the Valentine name, right? So Brad Bradford. So I'm thinking of the name for Brad Bradford's best friend. And so I used the name generator. And I picked this name Thaddeus. And I'm like, I really like that name, Thaddeus. I'm going to call him Thaddeus Jones. So that's going to be Brad Bradford's best friend. Mm-hmm. Well, Carl Thaddeus Mengele.
Oh, there you go.
Was Joseph Mengele's brother and also father's namesake.
So it's just a random generated name, right?
That was
That's what I mean. How weird is that?
Right. It was randomly generated. I picked that name out of the hat. Okay. And then later on, that's what I find out. And also in the X-Files, which I remember I told you the X-Files were started on a wiki case of xenotransplantation, which is the transplantation of genetic materials from one species to another.
Yes.
That's a mouthful. Okay. And I was married to Steve Zenos, right? Xenotransplantation. It's like the transplantation of strange, like hybridization or recombinant DNA, right?
Yeah.
You combine the different DNA subsets and make genetic anomalies. Like when I was homeless, because I'm a researcher, this one time I'm researching and I find that there's this, it looks like an alien. I don't even know how I got there. I could never find that again, but I was like deeply researching. Like when I was in genie.com for genealogy, and I found a back door where they were depositing scientific research under the Mengele name. That's creepy. So there's an extraterrestrial, and these things all pertain to 11. In case you're wondering and you're thinking none of this converges and it doesn't make any sense.
I don't care. I'm talking about extraterrestrials. They're demons, by the way.
These are the things that make me who I am, right? Because of these certain abilities to put your fingers on things or not. So I found this, it looked like an alien, and it was in a room and it was going, mama, 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 mama. And they brought a dog in, and the alien stopped because the dog was its mother. Because they're taking dog DNA and mixing it with alien DNA and mixing it with human DNA, like the movie Splice, where you get the chick with the tail.
If you told me this 10 years ago, well, maybe more than that, 15 years ago, I would have thought it was absolutely insane. Now I have no doubt that even things we can imagine, they're doing beyond that. Beyond
Me
that,
too.
For sure.
When I was in the crazy house, I was like, I don't understand. I'm a singer. I don't understand.
Why am I here?
Why am I here? I'm a singer.
Where did you see the alien? Was this a vision? Like a memory?
No, this was actually in my research. I saw it on YouTube.
Okay.
Oh, back when it was
and I see it,
good.
And I have no idea where it came from. I was researching recombinant DNA, I guess. I don't know. And then the other thing I found was a mouse that they replaced the vocal cords of the mouse so it could talk. So I knew that they were going to make animals talk, right?
It's only a matter of time.
At the time I said, I don't know if I'm just, because I've always had a pretty decent sense of humor, but I was like, I don't know if I'm just horrified or if I'm angry that the mouse is going to put me out of a job because the mouse can sing and dance like Mickey Mouse, right? Did they just make Mickey Mouse? I don't know.
They probably
maybe they just wanted to make someone for Mr. Ed to hang out with, you know?
True. But have you seen the dogs on Facebook that are like, I love you? Have you seen those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also one of my guitar players in a band called Big River.
Really?
I can't.
Really?
Yeah. I can't even tell you the thing like that happened before that because that would just give it away. But he was working with Todd Oliver. Todd Oliver was an I'm sorry. Todd Oliver was he's a dog ventriloquist. Okay. So now this is after I was told that someone I knew represented a very prominent ventriloquist. So that creeped me out. But then like 2 weeks later, my guitar player says, hey, I'd like you to represent me. And I'm like, okay, you know, I don't have any contacts or anything, but sure, I'll come out and I'll see you. He was at the Egyptian in Illinois. I think it was in Rockford. And he says, I'm working for a dog ventriloquist. I'm like, what the hell is that? He says, well, look it up. Look it up. So I look him up, and he has a dog that he puts this little mechanism on. And his name is Irving. And then he just talks, does a ventriloquism, and the dog, you know, looks like he's talking. Oh, okay.
Normal.
So when I went to go see him, the bass player, his name is Doc Holliday. I'm not even kidding. Said,
that's awesome.
I said, Doc, you know,
Mom and Dad, thanks for not naming me that. All right.
He says, you should represent Todd. And I'm like, I don't even know what he wants. He says, well, I think he wants 10 grand per gig and his own television series. I was like, okay, well, let me just pull that out of my rear. Okay, here you go.
All right, I get right on that.
I'll get right on that. And then what I started doing was I did start writing a television series for him. It was called I Work for the DOG. And in it, Irving talks for real. So Irving doesn't actually need Todd. Todd, if you're listening, this is still my idea, all right? Just saying, it's still my idea, buddy. I'll be more than happy to give it to you, but
don't worry, Todd's not listening.
No, but there is a Todd listening. He's like, "What did I do?"
Right. So I started writing it for Todd, who I think Todd's a good guy. And I started writing I Work for the DOG, in which the dog Irving talks for real. And he doesn't need Todd. Todd's like kind of the butt boy. He has to do the banking and stuff like that because the dog doesn't have imposable thumbs.
Yeah.
So so I start writing I Work for the DOG. And then all this stuff went aside when I got locked in the Huska house for like a year. And then I started researching even more and more and more. And then I started finding out more things about myself. And then I started finding out that all the times that they said, you're just being dramatic, Penny, when I was actually like new stuff, you know. And then I did go back to see Durrell. He said, hey, you want to be a snowbird? And I hadn't talked to this man in 40 years. I didn't want to talk to him again because I left because he was very violent and he was an alcoholic. And he said, yeah, just come and see me. I moved to Lake Havasu and, you know, you want to be a snowbird? I'm like, what's that? He says, well, you'll know as soon as it starts snowing in Chicago. So it did start snowing in Chicago. It was like 6 feet. And that's where I was for a year and then another year. And I went back to see him. And that's also when I realized that I write in code. A lot of things were becoming very prevalent to me. I went to Branson twice, which Branson isn't that far from
Missouri.
Yes. It's an entertainment town.
Yeah.
I went there twice and then I started having visions. One of those visions came true recently. I saw Trump get shot in the head, but he was okay.
It was the ear, all right? Come on, that was
Right,
way
I know.
off.
I said, I know. It's still the head region, all right?
Somewhere.
A lot of people have been
Somewhere
having,
in the
a lot of
head,
people have
you
having
know?
these visions that
Yes.
they were saying having that vision of him getting shot and you know,
Yes, because they say in the end times, and what is actually the end times? The times are ending from what we know they are.
Right, yeah.
But in the end times, even the children shall prophesy. So in that respect, I say, if you know, I'm just one grain of sand. I've said this 100 times. I'm one grain of sand in the beaches on earth, not unique. Okay. It seems like I am, but I'm not. There are millions of us. We can all telepathically communicate to one another. We all have dreams that come true. Some notice them, some don't. So I'm here to tell everyone that you can have dreams that come true. I talk to God. That's where I get my information. He saved, like I say, he saved my ass since I was a child.
A few things on that. One, you're right. We are just a grain of sand, but the beach couldn't exist without each and every one of those grains of sand. So we are all important.
Except
Two,
when you take all the grains of sand away, you don't have a beach anymore.
yeah, that's true. Fucking global warming. But so also, you and Bill, I feel like are a lot alike because you're talking about how you're an empath. You see things, you feel things. You're a singer, a writer. Bill is all of those. He's all of those things. So I feel like, yeah.
Dude, being an empath
Can I
is
interview
really
you?
hard.
You can. I can say this. So I've known him, me and Bill, that's how this started. We've been friends for over 25 years now. And when we first met in high school, he would used to tell me things were going to happen. I'm like, you're so dumb. You're full of shit. Come on, bro. You saw something happening. Ooh. After 25 years, when he tells me something, I listen. He's not 100% right all the time, but I say he's over 90 for sure. So yeah. I listen.
It's not like a vision, like, you know, visual all that. It just comes, and it's
No,
like,
I've seen it happen in person. I've said something and he's responded immediately, like it was just his natural response,
right.
and then come to find out he was right. So it's
And there's a lot of times when I'll just try to fight it, and I'm like, no way. Okay, yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, I can
Do you
already
have
know.
dreams?
You know.
Do you have dreams that come true? No, like I
No.
want to be a podcaster named Bill or something like that.
No, none of that. It's usually just when I meet people or I'm talking to people or things are happening around me. I know what the end result usually is going to be already. I know what these people are like from the minute I meet them.
Do you shake their hand?
Yes.
Can you tell stuff from people when you shake
Everybody,
their
I
hand?
always shake hands. Always shake hands.
Me too.
Always.
You got it.
And at that moment, I know a lot of things about that person, and I know how
The
it's gonna
dead
be.
zone.
Yes. I think that's why they
That's
said
weird.
that they
I didn't know
really
that. Again, I'm learning right now as you're telling
Yeah,
me.
it's the dead zone.
But,
they
yeah,
really
I just-
tried to push during COVID that they're like, I don't think we're ever going to be allowed to shake hands ever again.
I know.
They said,
You know
like, the knuckle
just
or the
gonna-
elbow.
I'm just
Big
going to
problem
ask
with
you, Bill, when
So
that
dumb.
happened, when COVID happened, did you think in your heart, oh, they don't want us to know what the other people are thinking? Because I did.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
I'm
oh.
a very visual person. Like I use my hands a lot. I use my facial expressions. You know what I mean? Like my eyes, especially. I could talk with my eyes if I wanted to, and I can let somebody know exactly what I think of them or what I think they think. But yeah, that the whole mask thing and all that, not being able to interact physically was wrecking me emotionally for sure. Like,
and the 6 feet
pissing me
apart
off.
thing. You can't
That too.
feel someone's vibe, their aura
Right.
that
Nope.
way. It's
Yeah.
Not only that,
No,
but they were
Mhm.
doing that for facial ID. And they had that in a bunch of movies too, where they have to stand outside like,
right.
6 feet apart.
yeah,
Yeah. No.
Because
it's,
movies are real.
they are.
Of
They
course they
Have
are.
you-
there's
have you
more
found
truth
yourself
in
in any
movies than there
What's
are in
that?
the news, for sure.
Have you found yourself in any movies?
There's a doppelganger out there. He's not doing too well these days, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard he's had some run-ins with the laws and whatnot. But
Are you
when
talking
I
about
was a
Fred
lot-
Durst, bro?
No,
That's
Although
what
I
I
get
was
that one.
thinking too.
I get that one all the time. Yes, I
I
do
know.
get that one now. More now than I used to. But I used to when I
Wow.
was younger.
Because he's
When
got
I
the
was
gray
y-
beard. So
Right.
it's-
Yeah.
that's
When I
all
was
it is. That and
younger-
the gray beard.
No, I got the older sibling on Home Improvement.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Big time.
Oh, yes.
Big
Not
time.
JTT,
yeah, I remember
the
back,
other one.
to when you were younger. I wish I had some
Yeah.
pictures.
And I've seen him lately. He's looking rough.
Yeah,
Meth has got him. But
yeah.
I digress. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a demon. Definitely.
But I have a question for you because
Yes.
I understand that things are so crazy and you want to say everything, but like what do you get like these? Do you get to see what happened to you? Do you? I don't know.
Yes.
It does come to you like that, like as
You-
a
you can
memory
s-
or as a dream, or is
Yes.
it?
The memories can be retrieved. That's what I try to tell people. If you were under MK Ultra, it's kind of like, even if you were under a drug, they say if you're under date rape drug, that if you're roofied or whatever, that you don't have any
Right.
memory at all. But I believe that you can regain those memories.
Absolutely.
I believe that you can pray and you can ask God to give you those memories. I asked God, reveal myself to me. And, when I was going from Starbucks to Starbucks, obviously that's where they had the coordinates because they knew that Starbucks.
Yeah.
But when I was
You're like,
going,
no, it's the one across the
I was,
street.
I was almost going to write because I started writing and I was like, Starbucks date is, and when I was,
Starbucks.
yeah, Starbucks. When I was
5261.
going from Starbucks to Starbucks, that's literally how I navigated myself from one city to another because I traveled across the United States. I went back to California. I went back to all the places that I lived with my boyfriends and my husbands to try and regain memories. So I'd go to like a Dunkin' Donuts near Jeffrey Road, which is one of the first places that I lived with Steve, and trying to regain memories. And when I asked God to reveal myself to me, he revealed it in such a way that it was a slow enough way where I say, so my head wouldn't explode.
Yeah.
But even when I was at the Starbucks, I'd have I'd see something and a barista would go, "Are you okay, ma'am?" And I developed a line to just say, "Yes, I'm a researcher. I just found out something copiously evil about my family."
There you go.
Wow. Right. I mean, so these traumatic events, like, do you relive them sometimes?
Well, here's the thing, and I want people to know you can gain memories if you want them. And I'm going to give my phone number out. So if you see this broadcast and you think that you might have some memories that you want to regain, I'll just tell you how I regain my memories. I'm not a therapist, although I was married to one. I'm not a lawyer, although I worked for them.
Not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. That's all you gotta say.
Exactly. So you can text my phone. I will not answer unless you say who you are. So don't text my phone and say hi, because I will block you immediately. And and don't text my phone and ask me what my favorite color is, because I will block you immediately. So my phone number is 619-779-9771. It's a lot of sevens. Okay. It's two nines. They're in the middle. 619. Oh, actually, 779. It's three nines. 619-779-9771. Okay. Text my phone. Say who you are. If you like, introduce yourself, and then I'll put you in my contacts and I will text you back. Only because, I know that the CIA and the NSA and the DIA and probably DARPA are all watching the Awake Nation, because I have their actual former agents on the show. So it's not a far cry when I say that I know that they're watching it. And this one day, Megan Walsh was talking about when they had Astrodome, that was Astro World. So I was researching that with Travis Scott when it happened.
Right.
And I had another asset who was helping me with the rappers. And he told me about a story in New York that happened in, I think, the 90s with LL Cool J, in which 9 people died. They got trampled to death.
Yep.
So I said that, and Megan said, "Oh, LL Cool J fondled me when I was 16." And I was like, "What?" And so she said it on X, but then she said it on Awake Nation, right? Well, this is Christmas time. I think it was like the 2nd or something like that. And when's the last time you guys heard of LL Cool J doing anything?
Been a little bit.
He's in CSI Los Angeles or whatever the hell it is.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Like that ended like what,
but
10
never.
years ago? Something.
Okay. So
music wise, never. He's still doing it well.
Her dad has known all the presidents. He knew Reagan. He's known Biden for over 30 years.
Who's dad?
Megan Walsh's father.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Known Biden for over 30 years. So about 2 days later, LL Cool J's lighting the Christmas tree at the White House with Biden. And at that time, we were called the Dark Outpost. We changed the name to the Awake Nation. But I said, David, that the White House is watching the Dark Outpost, right? He's like, yeah, I know. So and I also have a phrase that many people use. It's, you're not actually paranoid if they're actually following you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I was
there's
told,
spooks all over our comments. I know that for sure.
Yes.
There's no doubt at all.
And I was told by this one guy when I was homeless, and I went to a fair, and I was talking to a pastor. He was a singer, and people were coming up and stuffing money in his little box. He was a very nice man. He was singing all the notes, though, like all the notes.
All the notes.
And I told him my last name is Shepard, and he said, "Many will follow you. Many thousands will follow you," is what he said. And I was
many
like,
sheep, though? I mean,
yeah,
do you want sheep?
Many will follow you, Penny. I started crying when he told me that. Many will follow you. And then later on, when I got on Twitter, I was like,
here comes all the sheep.
Many will follow me on Twitter. I got kicked off a bunch of times. So it took me a long time to just get the amount of people that I have now. Some people are on there and they
we
like
weren't
1 million
here
followers.
before Elon, but he's letting people, he shadow bans people, he regulates your views and all that. But you can say pretty much anything you want on
Yes.
Twitter. It's freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach.
Actually, I was shadow banned before he came back on. But
I'm sure you were then.
like I kept getting kicked off, but I was mad too. I was very angry. And that's another thing, you know, we do get angry when we found out that everyone in our lives knew one another and that we were lied to. And that made me very angry because I try to tell the truth. And the truth is so hard to know what is the truth, you know, especially today, to try and determine. You try and discern with all of the bogus news stories out there, which the MSN is throwing at you. They're throwing lies at you. You know, they're throwing lies about pandemics. They're throwing lies about, you know, about that Biden is okay. There's nothing wrong with Biden.
Oh, you don't hold back. Biden's fucking crazy. Everything they say is a lie. Don't worry, we know all of it. Just
So
say what
who's at the top of all this?
That's
well,
a good question.
there's two things. So when I'm coming out of MK Ultra, I have to go to these different levels, right? So the first is I have to go to the Bible, right? I have to go above that. So are there fallacies in there? Who wrote the Bible? Da da da.
Yes,
then from there, right?
You're right where we
are. Then I go to the military, and because I am like a legit person that codes stuff, and when this was happening to me, I was like, "Am I learning a new language?" But I actually was unlocking what they had locked into me as a child. I'm unlocking these things. I prayed and I asked God, reveal myself to me. So He does in such a manner that literally that you know you can handle it.
Can I just say that's one of the greatest things I've ever heard someone ask God for. Reveal myself to me. That is just everybody listening, take a second to think about that. That's what you're asking for. You want to know yourself. That is amazing to me. That is such a good prayer, such a good question. And I'm going to start doing that because I want God to reveal myself to me. I know.
Prepared.
I know. I'm kind of a dickhead, so I'm ready.
Yeah. So be prepared because, you know, if you want those memories, you can get those memories, but they also can be damaging. It's like one girl came to me and attacked me. She said, "You told my friend to watch Stranger Things and now she's in the mental hospital."
Wow.
And I was like, shit. So be prepared. If you're not prepared to find out all the bad things that happen, if you don't want to know, then don't make that prayer. But if you do want to know, because I did want to know, I wanted to know all the bad stuff that happened. I don't care. And here's my premise, because I lived this life. And other people are like, well, we've lived many lives. We've lived past lives. I go, you know what? That's all cool and sweet and dandy. I just want to know what the fuck happened to me in this life.
I'm focusing on this one right now.
Right. I just want to know what happened here in this life that I was erased so badly that I couldn't remember anything from the age of like 12 down.
Wow.
And then I had to call Steve when I got married the second time, and he gave me this guitar, which I had to take the pick off because he spelled my last name wrong.
Did he use 2 P's?
He used I think he did.
I was gonna say because fucking Rufus used 2 P's when he put it in the calendar, so I'm just gonna say Rufus has 2 P's. So that's why the link has 2 P's, because Rufus.
You can also spell it with a herd, like SHEPHERD.
Oh yes, I know.
Right.
Right.
So I changed my name from my maiden name when I was gigging. I even went by just Penny LA. Because I knew my last name was not my last name.
What is the LA?
2 middle initials.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I won't ask because I said your name to my wife, and she's like, "Oh, that must be her middle initials, like Luann or something."
She's right. She's right.
You were right. You were right. It was Luann.
She's right.
Look at that.
I fucking love my wife.
Your wife is very smart.
She
is. The A was my
married to her if she wasn't.
The Ann is my baptismal name, which I kept.
Yeah.
By the time I was in 6th grade, I had it on my transcripts. And so my sister, because we were in the South in Miami, and I didn't want anyone to think that I was prejudiced because I'm not. She would run the names together, and it would just sound awful. So I put the periods between them. By the time I was in 6th grade, but I knew that my last name was not my last name. And at one point, both of my brothers disowned my dad, and I thought it was just a thing, right? They said he's not my dad. Now I'm thinking he wasn't our dad.
Yeah.
He actually wasn't our
You
dad.
have
You
a
lived in
very
Miami?
similar story. Yeah, you have a very similar story to another guest that we had way back.
Yes.
Very similar.
Angela?
Do you know an Angela?
That's who I was thinking of.
Angela,
Maggard?
what? Oh, yes.
Maggard? Oh, you do? Yeah.
Angela's a good friend.
She is.
Of
She's awesome. We
course.
had her on in the first few episodes.
I've
We're
known
good
her
friends
for-
with her.
I've known her for years. She said
Whoa.
because she talked to me that's when she started disclosing. She's disclosing about the
Oh,
Stargate
you're
program.
her? Oh my god.
Yes.
Dude, it makes so
She
much
told the
sense.
story on our thing about how she met someone and it convinced her to do it. And
Rufus, did you
full
know?
circle.
Whoa.
Did you
Yeah,
know?
no,
an
sometimes
I
you're
know, you
guided
didn't,
to these
I
things.
know you didn't know. I'm being
I'm an
very
encourager.
sarcastic.
So I encourage people, if they can, if they want to know who they are, to research
Wild.
and find out who they are, to research through the names that they have. She found out she was involved in the Stargate program. And now,
Mhm.
today we had, today on Agent X11, we had Skip Press. Skip Press was in Scientology. He's written over 50 books. And he is speaking about the murders, deaths, and suicides regarding Scientology. He escaped the cult. And so we had him on Thursday. I brought him in because I had a spot that was open, and as it was the person that said, "Oh, I can't do tomorrow. Is that all right?" And right then, I'm talking to Skip, and I'm like, "Hey, Skip, you want to do tomorrow?" He says, "Yes." Okay, so
Funny how
after
stuff like that
him,
works out.
Uh-huh.
he was going to talk about Pat Price, who was in Scientology, but he was also worked with Ingo Swann. Well, right after I said, and that's perfect because Ellie Flippin is Ingo Swann's niece. And you can find her on X, and she's been on our show for quite some time now. She comes on once a month, and she talks about the legacy of Ingo Swann, who Ingo Swann was involved in I don't know if it was Stargate. I think it was Stargate. He was involved with Russell Targ with remote viewing. And so he was one of the people that actually did control remote viewing. So he, it was meant to be because Skip needed to talk to Ellie. And then he was going to do the show, which he did today, talking about the murder of Pat Price because they were all involved with Scientology.
Wow.
I am so gonna start listening to every episode of your podcast.
Dude, I
I'm
listened to
blown
one today.
away.
It was
I'm blown away.
Peter, man, the Scientology
Yes.
guy.
I'm jealous. I mean, I'm gonna be taking notes. How do we make our podcast better? I'm gonna steal from ours.
Oh man.
So if you see any of your shit on ours, just don't worry about it. Just
Hey,
look the other way.
feel free to take any Agent X11 shows and post them anywhere you want. Feel free to take any of the Awake Nation shows and post them anywhere you want.
I have
We're not
3
like you can't do
pages
that,
of
you know.
I have 3 pages of clips written down already from this episode, and I'm gonna tag you. After this, obviously, send me everything you want tagged in it, and I will tag all of it. People need to hear this. And again, I will say, 15 years ago, I would have thought everything you were saying was absolutely batshit
You and me, buddy.
Yeah, but now that I
I
know
was not
what
a
they're
conspiracy
doing,
theorist at all.
no,
I had to research it. I had to research that I was not involved in political acumen at all. My political acumen when I was in.
Oh, so are you voting for Kamala?
Kamila? Are you talking about Kamila?
I'm just fucking with you. So you're either not voting or you're voting for Trump. Those are the only two options because I know you're not voting for Kamala. So
Kamila?
it's one or the other. Yeah, I know.
I mean, do you think it's possible that the politicians are also victims of an MK Ultra of some
Yes,
sort?
I do. The entire
Manchurian
world is.
candidate. They
The
showed you
entire
again.
world is MK Ultra. Okay, there's not a single person on this earth that has ever heard a music note or has ever read a book or has
Change the
ever
frequency. They
watched
changed
a
everything.
television program
That's
in their life,
true.
you
Fucking
have been
Gilligan's Island. That's where it all came from. It
the
was
ship
Gilligan's
that's on
Island.
the shore of this charted desert isle.
Skipper,
They
the
were,
damn
they were
skipper.
telling you.
I mean, we're still, I was they put me in front of the TV. That was my babysitter.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
no.
so the
yeah.
eyes take it in. And so when you're watching, I talk about, the military industrial entertainment complex, which if you watch my
Yes.
Agent X11 intro, then I say the military industrial entertainment complex works hand in hand with the military industrial complex. One cannot survive without the other. They're synonymous with one another. So we were talking today about there was a story out there. Now, we don't know whether it's true or whether it's false, but we present it in such a way to say, you need to research this, but we're just presenting the story.
Yep.
It was a story about a woman who's 26 years old. Her name is Angela, who is claiming that Kamala Harris did a hit and run on her 11 years ago.
Wow.
And she's
Yeah, I
now
heard
in a
about that.
wheelchair. And
I didn't hear
her
this
mother
yet.
recently died in 2024,
Yeah,
and that's why
I heard
she's
about it.
coming forward to talk about it. Now,
Mhm.
if it's true, it's horrific and it could end her career, right? But people trying to refute it are like, well, there's no accident reports. Really? Because
okay.
that's what the PD they do. They work in conjunction with the politicians. They scrub things.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people on
Yeah.
PDs, and I was married to a retired police officer that are actually serial killers. Who better to obfuscate a crime scene than an individual who's trained in CSI?
Yeah.
That's true. That's so true. You don't even think about that, but you're right. They got it nailed already.
So in that, the way that I presented it was, I said, well, we don't know if this is true. We don't know if it's not true. I put out a call for the girl, say, hey, if you're a real person, here's my phone number. Give me a call. I'm going to do it here too. If you're a real person, call my phone, 619-779-9771 and say who
I'm
you
gonna
are.
make a
And
clip of this.
we
I'll
will
make a
put you
clip of it and
on
post it.
Awake Nation because
Yes.
for you to tell your story. But I look for this person. Her last name is Brown, which was very easy to remember, right? Because Kamala was with Big Willie Brown.
Yes, I know.
So, and we also know she has a drinking problem.
No.
So you would think.
Did you see the
if she has a
school
drinking problem
buses?
now, the wheels on the bus go round
I
and
know.
round.
She
I
said
thought she
about
was
it.
just a little slow.
Right. So if she has a drinking problem now, then she had a drinking problem then. And
Yeah.
so that makes it
Right.
viable. It makes it perhaps, something that is true. So the way that I presented it was I used a clip from Wag the Dog.
Love that movie.
Fucking
So for the
more
audience that doesn't know what Wag the
foreshadowing
Dog
of
is,
reality. Yes,
yes, Wag the
exactly.
Dog is about a president who, rapes a little Girl Scout in the Oval Office, and they need to defuse the situation, so they start a fake war.
Yeah.
So if you look at this person who we don't know who it is, the background is it's like a nice clean gray background, right? We use green screens, right? Is it possible that this is just something fake? But why would you want to do that? Because Kamala has enough bad press as it is. So you wouldn't need to do that to, obfuscate who she was. But then here's the other thing. They just plant, this is MK Ultra. You just plant the suggestion.
Yep.
And so you have another, couple thousand people that move over to Trump's side because they're like, oh, she paralyzed this person, right? It's a suggestion. But if it is true, why isn't she in jail? We know why she's not in jail.
Right.
We know why Hillary's not in jail. We know why Clinton's not in jail. We know why Obama's not in jail. But why are they trying to put Trump in jail?
And again, back to how you said they tell truth in movies. You were just talking about how they plant an idea. Have you seen that movie Inception? There's a clip of it where he talks about how the most replicating virus is an idea. Once an idea is planted, there's no stopping it. And that's what they do. They plant ideas. They plant ideas in movies. They plant ideas in this. And it grips some people, obviously the fluoridated, but it grips them, and they can't see any other way. That's it. They're done.
That's called MK
And-
Ultra.
Yes.
It's called mind control. So when people are like, "Oh, that's so sad, you're MK Ultra," really? Because so are you.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
is.
We
To some
all are. I
extent,
don't
everyone
deny
has been
it.
mind controlled by a false history.
Yes.
By
Oh, for
false
sure.
by lies that are written in history books that our children have been taught. So how do we change that lying spirit that's over the earth? Well, guys like you.
And you, women like you.
Yes.
So we have about a half hour left. I wanna ask you some questions because
Okay, do it.
I'm already blown away. I'm fucking blown away. So I was gonna ask you where you're at on politics. So I want to ask you just like a few questions. How do you feel about like chemtrails? Where are you at on those?
Oh, chemtrails are absolutely true. We were going to
Yes.
do a story on it the other day too, but we didn't get to it because we had too
What's
much other
the
stuff.
purpose? What do you think the purpose is? Go ahead.
That's
The purpose of
question,
all of
but-
their machinations is the destruction of mankind. So they literally want to destroy the DNA of man. And you asked who's in control of everything a while back there, Rufus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But is it possible that who's puppeting the puppets of the puppets of the puppets?
It's like a fucking wind chime or a better use is. Have you ever seen one of those? It's such a bad example, but the gutter chains that come down.
Yeah, the water comes and
Yes.
drips in the front, and
It's
Oh,
one
yeah.
of those. It's like there's a
Right,
puppet
right.
of a puppet of a
Yes.
puppet of a puppet of a puppet. But
Now, is it possible? And here's where I came to that the archons are actually in control of everything. So I asked this question because I went back to go find. I was going backwards to retrace memories, and so when I started writing Agent X11, Madonna started writing Madam X. This kind of pissed me off because she's born
fucking
5 days
following
after
you.
me. She's born
Oh.
5 days after me. All right, her
she's an
brother.
August baby too.
Yes, she's born 5 days after me. She's August 16th, 1958. I'm August 11th, 1958.
My wife's an August baby. That's the only
We
reason.
kind of
I knew.
look a little bit alike. And
You and Madonna?
Listen, you're
A
way
little
too
bit.
hard on
Yeah.
yourself.
I
Do
haven't
not
had
say
any facial
that.
surgery.
Maybe
but what I'm
Madonna in
saying-
the 80s, Madonna
saying-
now, don't compare yourself
Ugh.
to her.
No, what I'm saying
Scary.
is that I actually did Vogue and danced on a bar in a
Okay, fair
fur
enough.
coat. Anyway, what I'm saying is that she was born. I think she might be my evil twin. And I'm not even kidding. So let's just say I am the daughter of Joseph Mengele and Irene Schoenbein. Okay, and Joseph Mengele, I believe, worked with Hirohito Ishii. Hirohito Ishii was the Surgeon General of Japan. He was going to drop cherry blossom. The operation was cherry blossom at night, August 15th, 1945. But then in September, they were going to sign the treatise. So he didn't drop the biological warfare on San Diego, in which they were going to cause bubonic plague in San Diego by dropping fleas on it. What are they doing now? They're doing the same exact freaking thing. Okay.
This is
Nothing
normally
has
where I would
changed.
say dude, but I'm going to say dudette.
Thank you.
Everything
girl said
you're
that to me.
saying is it's like everything I've heard in all these reaches of places in these dark places, and you're just tying it all together.
When he goes and signs the treatise, he disappears. Okay, 1945. In 1947, he shows up at Fort Detrick. You know, what I think happened at Fort Detrick. I think they were making clones with Joseph Mengele. I think I was one of them because they were making people like the Muffin Man. All right, he had a twin town. He had a twin town in I don't know if it was in Brazil. I don't know if it was Sao Paulo, Brazil, but my computer got breached like 4 times from Sao Paulo, Brazil. I'm like, do I know anybody there? Because I think I'm
Or-
American, but now I'm thinking no. I'm thinking now I am the daughter of Joseph Mengele and Irene Schoenbein because I look like Irene Schoenbein.
Well,
And
you know, nice German roots. It's okay.
yes. So am I like not American, but I'm like actually German? So here's where I think that Joseph Mengele divorces Irene. Is it possible that he takes Irene's ovum and transplants it into his next wife, who is Martha? Martha, he marries his brother's widow, Martha Mengele. They get married July 17, 1958. I'm born August 11, 1958.
17.
Okay. And then and then Madonna is born August 16th, 1958. Now, here's where in comes some more information. Her brother Christopher said that the father was very high ranking in the military and very secretive about the things that he knew. Is it possible that that his wife gets implanted with the babies? They've have a lot of kids in the family, and in the X-Files, they always give up one kid, right? So is it possible that Joseph Mengele created a bunch of children and then implanted them into various women, because we know that he did that, and that was his proposition of Joseph Mengele during the war, right?
Yeah.
Because here's where it comes in that and we did look alike. Okay, maybe not now, but we did. And
So you're saying that's how the clones are made? It's like an in vitro kind of deal?
Well, they can do that too. That I have a guy on the show. His name is Panos Savos. That's what he does. He does male fertility. He's very ethical, but he also clones. They've been cloning horses for like 50 years. They've been cloning horses.
How many episodes do you have?
On Agent X11, I just started it.
Yeah.
How many though?
4.
Okay, I know what I'm doing for the next 4 days.
I'd like some more followers, but if you watch,
you'll get some more maybe.
If you watch Awake Nation, there's a lots of those. Okay,
right. Those too. I gotta watch all those. I gotta
I'm going to be.
you're saying.
I'm going to be 5 days a week. So here's the thing: Hirohito Ishii drops off the face of the planet, and we thank him. Thank you, Hirohito Ishii, for helping us with bio warfare and accelerating us in bio warfare, because he was doing Joseph Mengele experiments. I think he killed like over 50,000 people, just like Joseph Mengele did. Joseph Mengele maybe killed more, but he was doing these experiments all over the world, not just in Auschwitz or whatever. He was doing them in hospitals and universities, in hotels, all over the world. So is it possible that Madonna is actually my evil sister? Because why is she doing Madam X? She was never married to anybody with an X. I was Mrs. X. I was Madam X.
She's drawn to it like a twin.
She's saying exactly, and she's saying she's Madam X. And the other thing was weird was I'm going to go back to when I was at Palm Desert. Greg Evigan started a series. Greg Evigan, I think, is a sax player, also a singer. He started this series called "P.S. I Love You," and I was in the band. Was in the pilot episode. So I think. I always ask who, what, when, where, why, and how. And so I'm like, well, why was I in that? Well, 30 years later, Madam X, she does a song with Greg's son.
Wow.
Okay. So then this is where the Archon thing comes in. So I'm going back to like try to look at that episode. I thought it was a failed pilot, but it actually wasn't. It went on air for like 2 years. The only one I can find is in Russian, which is freaking me out. Why is it in Russian? And then I finally find it. And they'd use, because I was looking to see if they credited us at the end. So we're at the end of it, just a little blip, right? But above my name is, and they did credit us, but above my name is the casting director's name, above my head, right?
Oh,
and it says L. And I'm just like, is this some cosmic freaking joke? So if you were an Archon, you'd think that was funny, right? Because time probably wouldn't matter to you. And you think this is hysterical. And there's no way that a human being could have done that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, a human being.
So much of this, when you break it down to like the numerology and all the different coincidences, you have to submit to the fact that, this is something beyond a human.
Right.
Yes, it's beyond. I mean, we know that a human being actually did the credits, right?
Right.
But for that particular person to have the name of L, and for it to go over my head, and then 30 years later I realized that that's actually me, because one of my middle initials is L, right?
Yep.
And I was born on the 11th. So Hirohito Ishii returns from his hiatus the day after Madonna is born. He shows up back in Japan August 17th, 1958.
17.
17.
Crazy. It's insane.
So what's that about?
Right.
It's everything in this world, this realm is connected. All of it. None of it's a mistake. I don't believe in coincidences whatsoever.
Also, the other thing is that my wedding pics disappeared out of my house. My wedding negatives disappeared. I remarried Sam for my 10th year anniversary, right? Remarried him on the hornblower, which is really weird because it was supposed to be just the captain, right? But Sam, of course, was late. He'd be late to his own funeral, which now he's dead. So I don't know if he was late or not. But
was he on time? That's what's really important.
I don't know. That's really what matters. So so we get married, and then they say, well, we have to wait till we get underway because I was late. And then they get underway, and the entire ship comes up and watches us get married. And people were taking pictures and videos.
Total.
Now I'm wondering who the heck was the captain, right?
Right.
Because this was planned for sure.
And
what
his
happened to all
initials CIA.
and what happened to all the pictures that were taken there?
Right.
So
yeah,
when
exactly
Madonna does her Madam X, I'll send you the thing that I put together. When Madonna does her Madam X album cover, I was wearing I've always had an affinity for the cowboy thing. So I was wearing a white, like kind of cowboy hat had veiling on it. Came down to here, and then I tied it back in a big bow because it was in the way. And I was wearing the wedding dress, right? So if you look at the cover of Madonna's album of Madam X,
yeah,
she's with a guy named John, by the way.
Coincidence.
I used to call John Juan, which is actually
see
John
how many
Don.
times I can say coincidence in this
It's actually
episode.
John. And
John
so
Juan.
she's wearing she's wearing a wedding dress like mine and the same hat. A white cowboy hat with the veiling. And I was like,
Whoa.
I've never even seen one of those in my life.
No.
Right,
So
that's
for
not
you
a
to
typical
say that
thing.
they're both in those pictures,
yes.
mind blown.
So I was like, I
Never seen
posted a thing and say, hey, Madonna, I want my wedding nags back. What happened to my wedding negatives, right? Why is she?
Yeah.
And I'm writing Agent X11 at the same time she's writing Madam X. Now you tell me. With Greg Evigan's son.
Is someone visiting you in the night and taking your ideas and bringing them to her? I mean, I think she might be your brother though. I've seen some stuff.
No, she's a girl. She's definitely a girl.
Well, you know what? I feel like when I was reading your backstory, I read that they used you for remote viewing on others. So maybe someone is using someone else like you to remote view to you.
True. You know, how did the Duffer Brothers know so much about me? I don't know. I don't think they know that they wrote about a real person. I don't think that they know that I exist. I really don't. When others come out and say, I'm the inspiration for 11, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I don't
Well,
think
Hollywood insiders have to have that in some sort of inside knowledge, right? And
what do they have?
CIA
Like the Satan, like when they make the deal, does Satan say, all right, here, there you go.
Right.
Here's
I think
more.
they open up a book and like, hey, take
I don't know
your
how
pick,
it
man.
works.
Mhm.
I've never
You
made
know?
the deal.
Right?
neither.
It's like how who was it? The famous that was interviewed about how the ideas they just come to you. You know, it's like
Right,
it was
right,
Bob
yeah,
Dylan, was it? I think.
Yeah, Bob Dylan signed he said he signed his soul to the devil
Yeah, he
at the
did.
crossroads. Where do you think I get it?
To the God
Yeah.
of
Where
this
do
world
you think
and the
I get
other
them
one.
from?
I know.
You
It's
know,
a different God for sure.
different God. He said
I
it on
feel
60
like-
Minutes.
Before,
Yeah, I
oh, for sure, I know it's crazy.
Right.
It's
But that's
crazy
where they
how in
want
your
you to say
face
it.
it is. Yeah,
That's where he
Yes.
wanted him to say it was on 60 Minutes
Yes.
prime time.
60
It was
minutes.
Morris Schaefer, wasn't it, that he talked to and
I
said,
think so.
Sounds about
he
right.
asked him, hey, we're getting our ideas, Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think though to get to that point though, like Rufus, what you were mentioning, like you have to make compromises before you get there. They have to know that you're prime for it.
Yes,
So
they have to
ready to
know
go.
that you will make those compromises.
yes.
And then once they breach your morality,
They're like a
then
teenage boy. They're not going to put it out there if they don't
right.
think you're going to give it back. So they're like, I
You
mean,
have to watch
you've
my
already killed someone and you've already done this. So,
you have to watch our show with Tom Althouse on
Oh, I'm going to
Agent
watch
X11.
all of them.
He was the first guest that we had, and he just like laid it on the line, and he started talking about how he was taken to this one party, and and they were gay because it's predominantly gay, and he went into the. I'm gonna say it. It's gonna hit in your head for the rest of your life.
Oh, God.
So
Here we go.
he says he goes into the bathroom, and I don't know if they had like a vase there or it was a painting or whatever, but he said it was like a bouquet of penises. That's what he said. And I'm like, what is that? And he said it was like, either a bow it was like a bunch of penises like in the and
You
so
could say that's a bag of dicks, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it is a
if
bag
it's
of dicks.
wrapped up,
it's wrapped up
And
in
if you need an illustration, look up
like a bouquet of penises.
www.eatabagadicks.com and it will come up
It is
and it will
for
show
real.
you a nice bouquet of dicks.
And so that's essentially what they were saying to him when they brought him in there to see if he would have seen. There's always a test. So if you pass that one test, then there's another one and another one and another one to see how deep
far are you willing to
that
go?
you will go
Yeah.
in there. Will you kill a child?
Yeah.
Will
yeah.
you drink
Oh,
a
yeah.
child's blood? Will you eat human flesh? How far will you go? Well, you have to watch Skip Presses because Skip Press talked on Awake Nation about Army Hammer. We had to discuss
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, oh man. I said, you know who Casey Hammer is? Because Casey wrote a book. She did the House of Hammer on It's Hammer Time. House of Hammer was the Netflix thing about this guy who just freaking lost it and went, Skip knows like a lot of people, okay, because there are a lot of Scientologists, right? And he was
they
very big in Scientology. And he said he knew him and his wife, who is now his ex-wife, because, he was going around basically BDSM. He went from playing Billy Graham to playing like gay guys, and then the next thing beating up his girlfriend, telling her that he wanted to eat her rib, like literally like cut her rib out.
I like
it,
ribs,
eat it.
but
not human ribs, right?
No.
What happened to him? So what Skip says was he took a road. He went from from this one place to here, and then he took a left turn into hell. And how do you get out of hell? Do you ever get out of hell? Now he's advertising his truck. This guy's was a billionaire, or I don't know, his family, the Hammers, were very, prolific.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they probably knew the Rockefellers.
Pretty sure.
And Casey Hammer, I admire that woman tremendously. I would love to get her on Awake Nation. She left the family. She went and worked at Home Depot.
Wow.
In San Diego. I was like, I love you, Casey.
I gotta look
I'm
a
out
lot
of
of these
this,
people
yeah.
up because I'm not gonna
Right?
lie.
yeah,
there's-
you'll know when you see Army Hammer, you'll know who he is. What,
Yes, he
what
was
a fucking,
in,
what a ridiculous
played
name
the
to
Lone
begin with.
Ranger.
by the
Right. I
way.
thought that they was just there to remove bad odors.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
No
what
way,
I
no.
was saying. Like,
He played the
a
Lone
box
Ranger,
in the back of your refrigerator. Like,
and Johnny Depp played Tonto.
Yeah.
He also played Clive. I think it was, I can't remember. It was Clive Tolman. I don't know if that's the right name. Who was the head of the FBI. He was J. Edgar Hoover's lover. Did you ever watch that, J. Edgar?
No, I
newer
haven't
one-
seen
the
that
newer
no,
actually.
no, I didn't catch that one. No.
Yeah, you guys are gonna watch some of these shows. Where
But
I'm
it's all
thinking
MK
about.
Ultra.
So this is the dude. If you can see him here, that's Army Hammer.
That's him.
What?
Yeah.
Yes, he played
Never
the Lone
saw him.
Ranger.
I've never seen
Yeah.
this dude before.
No.
Yeah,
You-
he played the Lone
you've
Ranger
seen
with
him.
Johnny Depp. A remake of
Yeah,
the Lone
that's
Ranger.
you didn't recognize
I
him
didn't
because
watch
he
that
had
one.
the
Right.
Didn't watch that one.
But I mean, he's a very prolific actor,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, yeah.
and then after all this came out, he like split and went and lived in the Caribbean for a while.
But that's what's weird. Why do
and
they
ate
let
ribs.
some of this shit out about some Hollywood people, but not the rest that are all fucking kids?
I think
Like,
because they sacrifice one.
oh
Okay.
yeah, send
So,
it.
hey, Armin,
Send up an
Your
offering.
time, yeah. I'm sorry, but you've been too public about wanting to eat your girlfriend's ribs. So, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to hot sauce you.
You
So
cross
just
the line.
you
the
cross the
line.
line. You're just too public about it. So we're gonna hot
Yep.
sauce you.
Everyone's
And
gonna
then-
find out where the McRib
It's right.
sandwich comes from,
Right.
and this is not good for business.
It's
It
not
does
good,
come
man.
Listen,
It
McDonald's
does
would
come
not
from-
serve real ribs. Period.
Ever,
Human
No.
or
right?
all right.
Everyone should have known because a chicken doesn't have
flesh.
McNuggets, so
Yeah.
just
Aw.
doesn't.
Pink paste. Pink
Right.
paste. It's-
And that, my friends, is where chemtrails come from. So,
yeah, I know. Wow. No,
Had to throw
so
that
there's-
in
what's
there.
next?
Where did
What's
chemtrails
next,
come from,
Ted?
Penny?
Let's
I
see where
don't
this
know.
is going.
No, but
Let's see where
there
it's
was
going.
something else you brought up. How do you feel about the Nephilim? You're talking about
Oh, the Nephilim are for sure real.
Yes.
Again, I'm
Thank
going to
you.
refer you to Awake Nation. We have Gary Wayne is on our show every other
wow.
Tuesday. Gary
God, I
Wayne.
gotta watch it.
The reason why here's the Gary Wayne story. All right. I know that my project was Project Genesis, Subproject Eve, which Eve is a cloning project. Okay.
Yeah.
Which makes sense that
And
Madonna would be in a
X-Files,
cloning
Eve
project,
6,
right?
Another
Exactly.
one. They
Wow.
I had to
named it.
research
Yep.
everything. So the baby Eve, I was born in Hollywood, Florida, in Hollywood Memorial Hospital. So was Megan Walsh, which freaked me out.
I'm 20 minutes
but
from there.
the very first clone aid baby named Eve was born in Hollywood, Florida. All right. So they're doing these things all over the place. And Clone Aid actually, its inception was in Riverside. That's why I contacted Panos Salvos, because Panos Salvos is on our show also. And he did a movie called Cloning the Dead. And so I wanted to know. I want to know everything. I'm asking everybody everything because I want to know. I don't want to be God or anything, but I want some answers. Okay.
Yeah. Us
I'll
too.
blame
We
you
know.
on
So
that,
I'm
yeah.
interviewing everybody that wants to be interviewed. I'm asking them, that wants to disclose, because the
That's
information is very
exactly why
important.
you're here. We're interviewing everybody who has info on anything. Just please tell us.
Yeah,
And if
now's the
anybody's
time.
still listening at an hour and 51 minutes, turn it off right now and go
Right.
listen to her podcast because it's much better. I assure you. Holy shit.
So we have a myriad. So the way that I met Gary Wayne was I was looking. Somebody said, "Oh, I know what Genesis 6 is," and I'm like, I didn't say it was Project Genesis 6. I said it was Project Genesis, and so I go and I look and I go to look for Genesis 6 and I find Gary Wayne. And then I listened to him on, I think it was like Clubhouse or something. And he talked for a really long time. And I'm like, no, this isn't it. But he's really interesting. But this is not Project Genesis. So then I have him on the show. I invite him. I say, hey, would you like to talk on the show? So his book is about, he wrote a second one. His first one was like 1,000 pages long, indexed. He just wrote his second one, and he's working on, I think, a third one. And the first one, he said, took him like 20 years to research all this biblically, etc. So he talks about the Nephilim. He talks about, end times. He talks about the Antichrist. He talks about everything. The man is very, very prolific
Awesome.
and
Yeah,
very
I know who he
studied.
is. As soon as you said that, I was like, wow, she brought it right to that.
We gotta get him on too. We gotta get
Him
everyone
and
on. Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to, if you're open to it, I think we're gonna have you back one day because there's just not enough time to cover.
There's never enough time. Does
everything.
anyone
I
really
know.
know what time it is?
No, we don't. We're not even in the right year.
And if you're okay to lose some viewers and stuff, we can go on your show too. It's no problem.
Yeah.
No, man. You have to actually use the real names Bill and Ted and
Oh,
Rupert.
man.
Totally.
You
I
gotta
have to write
dox
that
them.
down because I have to clip that. I love when
Listen.
people call us out.
Okay,
What, you don't
so
believe we're
have, like-
time travelers or what?
Listen.
I do believe in time travelers.
Okay.
See,
You
I
so
think
have
I am
spooks.
one,
Okay,
but
so
I
you're
can't
probably
remember.
being gang stalked by spooks, right? Like you get gang stalked still to
Yes.
this day, all that stuff. Like
Yes.
we get gang stalked by people
yeah, so
on a
I don't
different level.
I don't know
Oh.
if Rufus told you we're all firm believers that the heliocentric model that they've sold
Is
us is
horseshit.
bullshit.
So
The
True
Earth
that.
you can imagine.
is flat or at least a topographical
Yeah, I
plane.
definitely have all three of you on Agent X11 for sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We will come
We have some enemies. Let's just say
That's our bread
Many.
and butter is flat
And they're
Earth,
not
but we don't.
friend enemies. They're not friend enemies.
No, they.
I would
would
love
be
them to,
so
guys. If you hear it,
Yes. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
if you no, I was just gonna say I'm reaching out. There is an olive branch here while Penny is on the show. We could try to be friends. We've said this 1,000 times. just
Everybody
don't
needs
really-
friends.
They just don't want to. Like I feel like we're going 70 and they're coming like 25. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing there, you know. And then
Right.
the other 5, they're just like throwing projectiles at us. I don't really know, man.
Here's the
it's-
thing: when they constantly comment on our posts with things that we all learned in middle school, you have to come beyond that. You really have to, because we were all there. We all believed the narrative. I'm sure you did at some point. Well, you said you
did.
didn't realize till a
I
late,
didn't realize
a
I
late
was
time.
58.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit ahead of you, not much, but a little bit.
Right.
So it's like it doesn't matter when you came to it. There's a point, and I think there's some people that just can't wake up. And the question
And
about
it's
that is,
okay.
how do you feel about NPCs? Do you think that's a real thing? Do you think I do? I'm just gonna say I do. I think there's some people that they're just they don't have souls. They're just bodies randomly wandering.
It's very
amongst us.
possible. I mean, when I met the clone that looked like John, this person was not like Linda Moulton Howe talks about flash clones, but there's actually, you can make a clone from skin scrapings or,
Yeah.
and does that person have a soul? I think yes. They're grown in a womb.
But where does that soul
Now they
come
have-
from? Where do you think? Does you think because
It comes from
you're
God.
a believer in God, I'm a believer in God, a late believer in God, but a firm, strong, steadfast believer in God.
But
now.
if
So
you
do
were to just
think-
take a synthetic, right? There's a difference between somebody being in vitro fertilized and put into a womb and grown, all right? Or Linda Moulton Howe talks about, because this person that I met, he had a life. He probably didn't even know anything. He definitely didn't know anything about John.
yes,
But this individual, if you could turn him on and turn him off, and put him in a circumstance and have him be an assassin or whatever, you know what I'm saying? How many
right
Bidens are there?
Yes,
We're still asking that one.
Mhm.
My friend says there's at least
that is
5.
spot on right there.
So,
yes.
But Linda
There's
Moulton
your
Howe
NPC,
says
Ted.
that they're flash, if they're flash grown, like flash fried chicken or something.
Yeah.
They're like what you saw in the 6th day. Okay, where in the 6th day they grow them and they keep them there until they need them. Then they download the SIM cord and then they put it into the new clone. That I would say no, does not have it's just a synthetic. And it's like in Men in Black when Edgar comes in wearing a skin suit. Okay, it's like that. It's a skin suit.
I
they'll-
love that you reference movies, because a lot of people think, "Oh, why are you referencing movies?" That's where they show us the truth, because I believe they have the karmic thing that they believe. I don't think it's true in God's eyes, but I think they believe that if they show us, then we told you. We
Yes.
told you, and you
Right.
didn't fall, or you
That was
didn't
it's a form
pay
of consent.
attention. So we're
form of
we're out
Now,
of it.
we're-
You know,
I'm
Mhm.
considering. I just started Agent X11, but I'm considering maybe once a month because I would like to have an actual Saturday. Once a month, doing an Agent X11 on Saturday, and that would be you'd have a month assignment to watch a movie,
Oh,
and then we
that's
do
so
a movie
good.
decode
So
on that
good.
movie.
That's a really cool idea.
Oh, that's
That's a
good.
really,
And so
cool
I've
idea.
given Tom
Damn it.
Outhouse your number, Rufus. Tom Outhouse has
Yes.
your number. And so he's excited to do a podcast with you. If there's people that you think you might want to interview, just text me and say, hey, I'd like to interview this person, because the only way that we're going to be able to do what we're doing is to just share the information with everyone.
Yes,
Amen
exactly.
To that. Amen to that. Oh, you've been amazing, Penny.
So good, yes.
It's like, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to my own podcast. Which
not only that,
but
we do a lot of these, and there's some times where I'm a little nervous and this and that. But like, I feel like I was talking to someone that was like in my family, that we were just sitting down having a conversation with. And I genuinely appreciate that. I don't know if it's just genuine or it's because you have podcast experience, but it was a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yes, it was a pleasure meeting all of you too. I've had an excellent time.
Most excellent.
Oh, you love it. You love the reference.
And so I want to just tell people, if you want to watch The Awake Nation, we are on the David Zubik channel. And you can also find us at theawakenation.com. We are going to go to radio as well. We're on a bunch of different venues. We're on
AM.
We podcast also on X. I don't know. I know David's got a bunch of different podcasts. I will probably go to Apple and a lot of other ones.
Awesome.
But we're moving into that direction. More, because we do we do we do an hour of news, and then we do 30 segments of interviews. So we have 4 guests. Sometimes we have more than that.
Wow.
We also do the trauma triage team, in which that's on Mondays. And the trauma triage team has about 15 people in it. And Heather
we have
Day
enough trouble booking one guest a week. How the hell do you do that?
I know, it's a miracle. And then I'm booking for, I'm probably going to start, right now I have like every week I have some guests, but I'm probably going to stretch them out so I can fit more guests in there. So if you want to watch The Awake Nation, you can watch it on the David Zublik channel. We're live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. That's in Eastern time. That'll be 8 to 11 Central time. And then 5 days a week, we're going to put out a new episode of Agent X11, and that's pre-recorded. So, that might be something that we can do with pre-recorded things, just like you guys are doing here, and then
so
put
good.
it out.
Right when you said Agent X11, your graphic behind you went brrr, Agent X11.
Oh, she knew that.
It's like perfect timing.
She knew
so good.
No,
you should consider doing some spaces too, because there's a lot of people on Twitter that don't necessarily cross over to YouTube and Rumble and
yes, I do spaces, but I do more like I sit in as a covert agent listening, and I actually peruse them to find interesting guests with the same cosmology, so to speak, because
that's a good idea.
I don't want to say that I'm prejudiced, but I will never book a liberal on the show.
Yes, that's the thing. It's like, I don't have a problem if people disagree with us, but if you buy into those ideas, like you're just gone. I'm sorry.
I don't want.
I grew up as a liberal. I always thought I was a liberal. I thought I was.
My mom was gay.
There you go. I was totally open to it. I have gay friends. I have Jewish friends. I have all this.
I went to an all-Jewish high school. Okay, except for me. I was the only one that wore the Star of David and the cross at the same time.
Did it burn?
In life, it did. So basically, I say, because the premise of the liberals, the radical liberals, radical left,
yes, yeah,
is not a premise that I want to even deal with, because they're just irascible and irrational. And so I don't find that comfortable. But if you're, I don't care what your sexual orientation is. That doesn't matter to me at all. Hopefully it doesn't matter to you that I'm heterosexual. No, I'm not speaking to you guys. I'm speaking to the audience.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't feel the need to broadcast who I sleep with. Why does Why does anybody just
Right.
be you? I don't
Yes.
care. Just be
But I
you.
want to tell the whole world, and here's a flag.
Right.
It's-
But if you
it
have an
used to-
agenda that's chaotic and disruptive and angry, I mean, I was angry when I first found out that everybody I knew lied to me for 60
Yeah.
years.
Right.
That will make you, trust no one. And I'm still working on those issues, being
Yeah.
betrayed by many
we
people
all are.
that were in
We
my life.
all are. I feel you.
But a lot of
So-
these people, they weren't lied to about genders, though. I don't know why they're so pissed off. Like,
No, because now they're trying to engender our
Right.
children to make
Mhm.
decisions when they're 2
that's
and
what
3.
it's really about. Yes.
Yes.
that's what it's
And
really
so if you can capture the children, you can capture the future. I sang a song, I'll end it with this. I sang a song. Okay, I auditioned for Barbie Rocker. There it is.
Nice.
In the 80s for Mattel. And at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And I had Giorgio Moroder was one of the judges, and one of the guys, Paul Schaefer from the Tonight Show. I ended up being last, which you either want to be first or last because they forget the people in the
Oh,
middle.
we know. Yep.
And so I ended up being the last person, and I sang a Whitney Houston song because I covered her entire catalog. By the way,
Which one?
my youth, I did smoke a joint with Whitney Houston. I didn't know she was gay. I found out later. So anyway, I
didn't know she was
I
gay.
still didn't
Yes,
know.
I
That's
didn't
that's
either.
news
Yeah,
to me
she's
right
gay.
now. Whitney
Oh,
Houston's
really?
gay. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, the song that I sang was The Greatest Love of All.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Okay.
the
Song.
that's
So
the one.
that I still speak on the premise. I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never to walk into anyone's shadow. If I fail or I succeed, at least I know that I believe no matter what they do to me, they can't take that away from me. Because the greatest love of all, and you know the rest of it, is our children. I'm going to just play the Biden on you.
You know the thing.
You know the thing. The thing.
Oh, Death. Death's got to fade it out at that point.
Dude, it's
Oh,
hard
she
to
doesn't-
it's hard to
she's
like
like,
say
wait,
the
who?
lyrics when you need to like actually sing it. But that's as far as I could go.
That was awesome. Thank you. I mean,
Yes.
we have a lot of good conversations on here, but I can honestly say this is the one that I felt most like I was just talking with someone I've known for years, and it was just a conversation.
Same here.
This
Yes.
was awesome. We I don't know, we may disagree on some things, but we agree on the fundamentals that are
Yes.
important. And I would love to talk to you again if you're ever willing to come back.
Most assuredly. And I know you're gonna love Tom Maltos too.
Oh, we
He's-
will.
He's
Oh,
freaking
yes.
amazing.
I'll be reaching out to him
Awesome.
very soon.
He's the actual original writer of The Matrix.
So cool.
Boom! For anybody who's
Boom,
listening.
chaga laga laga. We got 1 minute.
Can't wait to tune in.
Oh, it's so good. So yes, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I
It was
genuinely
indeed. I
appreciate
thank you all
and,
as well.
and your positivity
And,
with all you've been through.
Yes.
That's an important thing. If you take nothing else away from this podcast, take away that someone who's been through way more than you will ever be through in your entire life is still positive and has a good sense of humor and
Sharing love.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
and
66.
light in
I
the universe.
still believe I might actually find my third husband.
Yeah.
Oh.
Woo-woo.
Yeah, I'm living in a fantasy land. That's
Send
for
us
sure.
an invitation. We'll be there.
I was about to say, please don't.
I don't
Best
think
way to
so,
go.
Penny. They used to say you have the chances when you're over a certain age of getting married as it is of getting struck by a terrorist. Well,
Well, that happens all the
those chances
time.
are pretty
So
good right now.
better
of
than
getting
winning the
hit by a
lottery.
terrorist.
All right, guys. We're
Thank
out
you
of here.
so much.
Thank you.
Guys, go to all
Talk-
those sites that we listed. We'll have them.
Yeah, well,
Yes, you are awesome.
message
Penny.
me, Rufus. Send her my Send me all your links. I will post them all on everything we do.
That's right.
Done. And everyone, when you're watching this, make sure to pay attention really closely because 4 Saturdays from now we'll be decoding this episode on the Agent X11
Yeah.
report.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh man, much love. Yeah, party
Peace.
on,
Much love.
Penny.
Guys,
Thanks.
Shepard out.
Thank you so much.